Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Well, welcome to another episode of Best Health Radio by Barb Regis and sponsored by Ask the PA. It is a show that's going to be probably, in my opinion, I'm going to just say it, one of the most important shows that we've done so far. This show is something that's extremely important for all of us, and all of us are going to get to the point where we're going to need these folks that are across the table from me. It's going to be a little emotional for me because I dedicate the show to my mom who passed away, and the anniversary of her death is tomorrow. And the reason I have these two amazing guests are because both of them had businesses that we needed as a family so much in the last 6 months to a year of my mom's life. So I thought it was important to reach out and see if we could get Jackie and Krystal on the show, because I think this conversation is going to wake people up and get you thinking about things that are at times even uncomfortable to discuss. So welcome to the show. Let's get happy about it. It's called Jackie, Senior Living Options. Jackie Wargo, welcome to the show. And Krystal Naegle. And I got to give you a little bit of background on Krystal. Krystal runs Jubilee in the Desert, which is a group home of, I believe, 8 to 10 people.
8 beds, yeah.
8 beds.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I know Krystal is because she's an amazing musician, and she has a group called The Waters, and she is married to this guy named Matt. And Matt goes by the name Sturgis, but Matt will always be Matt to me because he was one of my most amazing band students when I was a band director way back when in the late 80s and early 90s. So, Matt, if you're listening, hello. And if your mom's listening, Bonnie and Ron, hello. And thank you for sharing Krystal with me. Hey, Jackie, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Senior Living Options.
I started Call Jackie Senior Living Options because of what I went through finding a place for my mom. My mom was in a hospital for 5 weeks. They literally told me all of a sudden that she's got 2 to 3 weeks to live, put her in a nursing home. Nursing homes back in Michigan were like nightmares, Stephen King books.
What part of Michigan?
Detroit.
Okay.
And so I looked at a couple nursing homes here. I started crying, and some angel put a piece of paper in my hand with a phone number and said, call my friend. So I called her friend, and they owned an assisted living home.
Okay.
And I moved my mom the next day. We were talking about over medication. Within 24 hours, they said, we'd like to bring our geriatric doctor in to take a look at your mom. We think she's being over medicated. Sure, doctors make house calls. Okay. And that was something new to me. And I met him the next day, and he grumbled under his breath. She was on 21 medications.
Polypharmacy, one of the number one killers of people, especially the elderly.
Exactly. And but what did I know? The doctors know what they're doing, right? So he took her off of most of her meds, and 10 days later, she was sitting up in bed, clear-eyed and bushy-tailed, and
You got your mom back.
I got my mom back for another 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Because she had terminal lung cancer. So I went, why didn't I have the help? They just said, stick her someplace. Had I stuck her in a nursing home, I truly believe she would have died in 2 to 3 weeks. Cross my heart. I just know it.
I agree with you. And we'll talk about that as we go on. Krystal, tell us about Jubilee in the Desert.
Well, I'm really excited to talk about Jubilee in the Desert with you because this is a brand new location in Arizona for us. So I've been in this industry, or around this industry, since I was born. I grew up, I was born into a home where...
I had no idea you kept that secret.
I did. I lived in a facility my mom ran until I was 10 years old. I never lived outside of one. And so I grew up around it. All of those people were my surrogate grandparents growing up. And then my mom got back into the assisted living industry after taking a few years break. And then my sister grew up in it on her latter side of life. And then my mom's been doing it ever since. And my sister and I both got involved in her businesses in South Florida. And then we finally decided to open our own first location in Arizona. So it's only been open for 3 months, but we're doing really well and we're excited.
Congratulations. I'm really excited for you. And I'll tell you, that was a surprise to me. On Facebook, all of a sudden, it's like, we're opening up this facility. I'm like, what? I had no idea. So what's really cool is that you grew up with this. And so you really understand what the needs of patients are and your residents. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can. Growing up in the homes that we had, they were really small homes. So you're getting a very family-like environment. Like the house that I have now, it's just a four bedroom. So it's 8-bed facility, but it's like having a family. So everybody there is your family, and you come and you all come together. Children raising, around elderly people. Those people were like braiding my hair every day and telling me their stories. Like in our facility now, we have a dog that's a therapy dog going through training. So it's like they have a dog in their home. His name is Wrigley.
He's so cute.
And so he's a beautiful yellow lab.
Awesome.
And so he's getting therapy trained right now for our residents, but he loves to go in and check on them. And my kids are there all the time. So I just love that family environment. My kids love being there. And they're like, Mom, when can we go to Jubilee and hang out with the residents? And my newest resident is already in love with my kids. And she looks forward to like every time they come.
Right.
They're like excited to see them.
And for many of the residents, that's the only people that ever come to visit too.
Yeah.
And so to be able to provide a dog and to be able to provide your family and share them with them, it's a surrogate family for them. And it's beautiful. Jackie, tell me, when you look at placements, tell us a little bit about your process in placing people.
Okay. I meet with the family, get as much information as I can about their loved one. I try to meet with the person if it's possible. Sometimes it isn't. If they have advanced dementia, it might be upsetting to them. So there are certain times when it's just the family. I do an extensive medical assessment, mental assessment, educational, physical, financial. Those are all important. It's not just, oh, I need to go someplace. Okay, here you go. I sit there and I take as much time as I feel I need and they need to find out what the needs are and what type of place I need to look for or places I need to look for, because I believe in options.
Our family was all over the place with that.
Oh, I believe
my
it.
parents came from Renaissance, independent living forever, and it just got to the point where it wasn't safe. So we went to a group home, a bigger group home, with the idea of that they'd get a little bit more individualized care.
Right.
It was an interesting experience at that group home because there's a dynamic of many different personalities with many different needs. And you could tell it wasn't a cohesive environment. And there was a lot of people running in and out, and there wasn't a lot of privacy. It was kind of like a very interesting experience for me to observe all that. And it was really, really difficult on my parents. And so I was just curious, when you go to these places, and Krystal as well, please pipe in, like when people come, like you're concerned for making sure that everybody's a good fit for each other in the home. Is that important to you?
So important. That's why I ask all those questions that I do ask, is I want to make sure that if it's somebody who has a semi-private room and they're pretty with it, they're alert, maybe they're a veteran, that I try to find places that the person they're going to share the room with is also a veteran, that they're alert, so they can sit there and talk war stories or whatever it is that they have in common. I'm not going to take somebody who's bedbound and dying and move somebody in with them who is going to look over and see this, and how upsetting would that be? How depressing. So a lot of it is finding out who the residents are, what the caregivers are like. The places I work with, I get to know the homes, the caregivers, the owners, the managers, the residents. I get my hugs when I stop in. And for me, it's important to do my hug stops. That's what I do. I'm in a neighborhood. Awesome. I stop in and everyone gets
and that's the one thing I noticed was that there was no follow through. It was like, okay, your place. See ya. Have a great life. Bye.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry, but it was.
So, I know.
What do you? Now that you're kind of like, you've got all this experience in Florida, and now you guys are running an Arizona facility. I hate to even say that. Residents.
Yeah.
So when you're placing, how does that affect you? Like when people come in and say, hey, I want to, move in.
We've noticed that can be a trend amongst certain people who are referral agents, that they just kind of like on occasion just pop in and like there's not a lot of involvement. I'm like, are you spending time finding out what their needs are before you just bring them here? There's definitely some little more research and things that need to be going into it. Jackie's got the right attitude about it, I believe. And you'll find that not everybody's doing that, unfortunately.
It's scary.
It's very scary. In fact, the majority of placement agents out there couldn't care less. I call it, they're the place and dumpers. They place them, they dump them someplace and on to the next one. They don't care about what happens down the road.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's not good for the person being placed. It's not good for the family. It's also not good for the residents where they're going or the homeowners. It doesn't do anybody any justice to have that situation. So it's really sad to see it happening.
And I think for me, that's the number one problem right there, is just the right placement and great follow-up. And if you're not doing the job, say, hey, we're not going to place people here anymore. And that was some of the feedback that I gave. I was like, hey, A, B, C, D, E, F, G are not happening. And this is the result of it. And it was really sad. And the hard part is, as somebody who's trying to find a place for your parents, you got a time frame, you've got a budget. You go into the home and you just kind of hang in there for about a half hour and you go, well, it looks clean. It looks safe. It looks like the food looks pretty good. Okay, I think this is going to work out. Like, we got to at least try it.
Right.
But then what happens is, after they've been there for a while, the truth comes out.
Right.
Can you allude to that?
Yeah, there are a lot of different things that I personally do, which the majority of them don't. Again, they're coming out of the woodwork. They think it's easy money. And for some it is, because they don't care. But I vet the places. I do see them. Important are the surveys that the Department of Health Services do every year. They show up and say, honey, I'm here. And you got to open their door. And they go through it with a fine-tooth comb, right?
We haven't had one here yet.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we're still waiting on one for
Be
Phoenix.
prepared.
But I'm waiting.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it looks like you guys are, what I like is, it sounds like you're growing methodically. You're growing systematically. You're not just all of a sudden, 8 residents. And it's better to do slow growth with a great reputation rather than this fast, crazy growth. Because the other thing that happens is that what I noticed was retaining caregivers. A lot of turnover with caregivers. And part of it is because it's a hard job, and it just takes one resident that takes all the needs of the caregivers, that can really put people over the edge.
Yes, it can.
And that was my observation with that as well. And Krystal, you were saying, like, as you're hiring people, like, what's your take on the people that are out in Arizona? Like, is there a shortage? Is there a surplus? What's going on?
There is definitely a well-known shortage. People who are in the healthcare community will tell you that we're facing quite a problem with the caregiver shortage in Arizona, because we do have so many people retiring here of that age, and the shortage is definitely prevalent here. It is difficult to keep people. I mean, I have people call me on the daily. Like, I've got ads running right now for caregivers. We talk and they're like, I'm going to come and bring all my paperwork and come for interviews, and half the time they don't even show up.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing to balance right now. I'm finding, like I said, it's very different from Florida, where our other locations are. Here, you have to have a different kind of certification that you don't have to have there. Right. It's definitely been a difficult thing to navigate. And like you said, it's not an easy job. It's really one that you have to have a heart for, which I think is really important. You can teach somebody how to do anything. You need to have a passion for it. Like,
exactly.
Otherwise, it's not going to go well.
Can you tell me about the certifications?
There's a course that you can take. It's about a week-long course. It's $500 for the course, about, generally speaking, $500 to $700, I think. It gives you a lot of the basic information, but hands-on is really where you're going to get a lot of your skills. So you're going to have to do a lot of training after that course, I think, really. And a lot of places will individualize that for their own homes.
Right.
But
And what's interesting is you find that in the bigger assisted livings as well. They're having people dispense medications that have no training. They don't even know what insulin is. They don't even know how to give insulin.
Right. You should be certified a caregiver to be giving any medications at all.
Right. What exactly are the laws? Do you know, Jackie, with that?
Well, technically, all they have to do is be trained and then certified by the state. And then the doctor has to write an order that the caregivers are allowed to administer the medications. Basically, that's it. So most of the homes I work with, it's not, in fact, I think all of them, it's the caregivers don't set up the meds. It's the manager or the owner. They set up all the meds.
Exactly.
So that here's what they get at this time. This is the correct amount. This is, when you give it. And then they sign a medication administration records to show that they've done that. So I wish there was more training, such as maybe being a med tech. Which
I agree.
I wish they had that, but they don't. Not here in Arizona. They have so many other regulations.
It's very interesting
That's
how
not
they
one
do
of
it,
them.
though. Right? Exactly.
Right.
And they can't get enough caregivers because there's enough training required at this point that it's keeping people out of the field.
Right.
But there's some things needs to change with the way that it's being handled here because.
And that's what my promise to my mom was, that, I was going to somehow come up with a way that we'd assure that people that are giving medications have minimal, at least some sort of knowledge, like, hey, this is a blood pressure medication. If you check the blood pressure and the blood pressures, reach out to the home health nurse or something and say, do you really want me to give the medication tonight?
Right.
Don't just give it.
Right.
If a person's sugar is, 100 and you're supposed to give them like, so much Humalog or whatever, think. And that's the thing that I noticed is that people aren't thinking. They're just robotic and they're doing because the computer system says just do it that way. So I just do that. And so that's the hard part. But, even with my business, as a healthcare provider, finding good medical assistants is tough. It's very competitive and there's a lot more training for medical assistants. And even CNAs for the hospital, there's a little bit less training, but it's interesting. CNAs can do catheters. Medical assistants can't. Medical assistants can do phlebotomy, but a CNA can't. And so one of the things I think would be really interesting is if we could put one certification together that you can do this, and maybe you could be the person that could oversee the caregivers in these residents and just kind of double check things. Now, if I could divide myself into 50 people, what I would love to do is set up a business and do something like that where I could just go in there and oversee and say, hey, and train and say, listen, this is how you give insulin. Listen, these are the things to watch out for. It's not that hard. And that was my big issue with actually all the facilities my parents have been at. It's like, hey, when in doubt, ask the question.
Right.
Yeah, that's important.
Just don't do it, right? And so I think that's the biggest challenge that you have. I mean, anyone, no matter what the size of the facility is, you're going to run into that problem. And then the hard part is that a lot of people they're afraid to speak up.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So can you guys talk about that? With your residents, give us an example of that.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, families are afraid to speak up, and that's one of the things I do is I stay involved. I'm not a place and dump. They can call me 5 years later. They can call me at nighttime. I work 7 days a week. So they can call me and say, hey, Jackie, one example, I'm into stories. I had a lady who was at a wonderful home, and I got a call from the daughter, and she goes, Jackie, I need to talk to you about something. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the way she's talking, what's wrong? My mom likes to have canned beans. She really doesn't like the frozen beans. But I'm afraid to say something to the owner, which he's a big teddy bear. He's an RN.
It sounds like my father every day.
I don't want to cause a problem. And I said, I'll take care of it. So I called Mark, the owner. I said, Mark, she wants canned beans. Is there a problem? He went, why didn't she say something?
They don't. My dad, and then when my dad says something to me, he goes, don't tell them that. So what I've been doing is and I want to give a big shout out to Abel. It's called Angel Adult Group Home in Ahwatukee. I was hoping she would come tonight. She is the owner of the facility my father's at. He's the same way. It's like, I don't want to make a problem, but I really don't want my raisin toast with jelly on it. And I go, Dad, can you just let him know you don't want jelly on your raisin toast? So I kind of tell him. So it was his birthday, right? So I go to the grocery store and I get a bunch of his favorite things, and I take it to them, and I'm trying not to insult them or anything. I'm like, Dad likes clam chowder. And I know they make a potato soup that's kind of like the clam chowder. And my hint was taste it and you'll kind of get an idea of like what he likes, like how he likes things seasoned. His other thing, Abel, I got to tell you, you're going to hear it right now. He swears to me that like, hey, we have spaghetti twice a week, but they never put the sauce on the spaghetti. It's just kind of like, and I don't get that. And so I'm like, Dad, did you just tell him, hey, cook the sauce, put it on the spaghetti. It's no big deal. So what kind of stories do you have, Krystal? I mean, I deal with it every day.
Oh, yes. It's funny because some are more talkative than others, but I think it's always good to just go ahead and say it because as caregivers, we want everyone to be happy. You know, we want to see you come out and be like, I'm excited about my breakfast. You get little wins every day, you know? So we want to see smiles on their faces. So it's like, hey, if I can make your toast how you like it or make your bacon extra crispy if that's how you like it, like we want to know that stuff. I know when we get somebody in, like a new resident, that's one of the first things we like to talk about because we like cooking in our home. And
hey, and your food looks good.
We're foodie people. And so that's one of the things we like to talk really about. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been seeing these Facebook pictures of like, hey, I'm going to be over there for dinners.
Yeah, I know. My sister makes me hungry.
What else do they have to look forward to? Imagine being someplace which is not your home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're there and there's really nothing for you to do. You know, maybe you can get on the computer or watch movies or whatever it is.
They don't do computer.
Look forward to food. And that's one of my big pet peeves is the homes that don't provide good food.
Yes, I think it's really important. And we also are thinking about their health there too. We want them to have some good, comforting foods and things they love and things they've eaten their lives that we like to find out, you know, what are some things you grew up eating? What are some of your favorites? Shepherd's pie, things like that, that we love to make and things like that. So good, comforting things, but also we're also thinking about their overall health, you know, with dementia and other things like that as well. So, you know, I want to like make sure we're throwing in a leafy spinach salad with some blueberries and some MCT oil and things like that are really going to help keep the longevity of your faculties working and aging gracefully as much as we can. We want them. Yes, absolutely.
And that's what it's all about is dignity, grace, and just being there and having them have a sense of safety,
right?
And a sense of this is theirs. Like, for example, my dad, he and my mom had a room. Unfortunately, my mom was there a very short period of time before everything kind of hit. And I was able to arrange that he could keep that room. So it's a pretty big room. It's got the bathroom. And he's got his bachelor pad going, man. He's got his TV going. He gets the newspaper every morning. You know, he cuts out like, he's 97. He cuts out like what he's going to watch for the day. He still is having problems with his phone and that's in the remote control, but he has his power down. He's got his razor. His big thing was he wanted a razor with 4 blades. So I was like, okay, Dad, we'll try this. Okay. So, you know, he's very mindful. He's very proud. He loves to shave himself every day. So gosh darn, he goes in that bathroom, he sits there and he shaves himself, he gets his shower. But the nice thing is that they really respected that and respected it for us that like, hey, I was willing to pay some extra money for him to have that privacy as long as he could. Now, if it gets to the point where he can't go to the bathroom on his own and he needs other care, then the conversation may change.
Right.
But to give them those choices. And for him now, it's like, that's his place. It's like, because all of his creature comforts are there, including exactly where the remote is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool.
Well, and one thing that I like to work with homes where it's the resident's home and the caregivers, owners, and so on accommodate to whatever their needs are, the residents. It's not the owner's home. That's not the right way to look at it. It's the resident's home.
Yeah.
And let them feel comfortable, treated properly, not put jelly on the raisin toast. You know, that's important to people. And I've seen too many places. There's over 2,500 of them, and I work with about 30% of them. That's it.
2,500.
Yes. And there are over 2,000 that aren't licensed, which is very scary because as much as I personally like the government regulation. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to that conversation right now, you two. Mm-hmm. Go talk about licensure.
This is something I'm not even aware of. So tell me more about that. I don't know a lot about that.
Yeah. In the state of Arizona, you can have 3 people or less and not have to have a license. There are a lot of people who say, oh, I take care of my grandmother. I'll pick up another couple of people. And they don't need training or certification or licensing. There's over 2,000 of those. Some of them kind of padded a little bit, and you'll see homes where they got 5, 6, 7 people. No licensing because they've not been caught.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. They have to, if it's 4 to 10 people for home,
Right.
they have to be licensed. The caregivers have to be trained and certified.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't believe how many people out there don't do that. And they call me all the time, and I'm like, well, are you kidding me? Obviously, you don't know me.
You're like,
and
I'm not
my business and my
That's
reputation.
like your
because
first question, like, are you licensed?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, and I check that. I can check it on the Department of Health Services website. So for every home and every community I work with, the first thing I do is look at their surveys.
Yeah.
And they go back 3 years. And I can tell when, like, I knew that there was a new owner for Angels. Because
Yes, Abel's new.
Yes. I knew there was a new owner because I knew Anita, who was the former owner, and she still owns another home.
Right.
And so I looked at the survey. I said, there's something different here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when Abel called me, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you called me. I was going to call you and say, tell me what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's paying attention to those little things, especially for people who do what I do. Unfortunately, they don't. And God forbid, please don't go on the internet and get the internet places. They've got the big places. I call them the box office.
Yes.
Because they don't ask the questions. They give you a list, and it's up to you to see if they're available, what their specialties
we
are.
experienced that.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Most of those, and it's amazing. I was at a meeting today, and it was...
Pastors?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Pastors today? I was just going to talk about that. You said that.
No, were you
I was there too.
This morning.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was at the afternoon one because I'm a member of NPR.
Keep going, guys. This is awesome. Tell me more about pastors. This is awesome.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just like, you just made me think of the same thing. I was like, oh my
funny.
gosh, the stuff they were talking about at the pastors meeting today.
Exactly. And it's about trying to stabilize and do things to the placement agents, the placement agencies that are out there that do what they want to do. Oh, they talked about, can I give a name or no? Am I not? I can? Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
A place for mom.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck is one of the head guys. He's been in this business forever. And he went through what their language is, the language that you don't see when you're on the internet and you put your name and a phone number or email in. The moment you do that, they own you.
Right.
You are not allowed to opt out. They don't ask the questions. They send you a list. You might as well look it up in a phone book, right?
Yeah, because they basically say in that back verbiage that you don't see till after you've given your information.
That's right.
That they own
that
it.
They basically are like, we have all this information. You can't opt out on this information. Now we're going to have all these people call you. They don't really have any information about your needs or wants or anything. And they say, here's a list. We haven't checked out any of these people. And
they own you. This is the crazy thing, right? We were at that meeting.
Setup.
They own you. It's a place for mom,
Care.com. And they're all owned by the same company. It's all top 10 pretty much.
So what I need to know is the name of that company, and we're going to get the word out. We need to do that because nobody should own you. This is not the way it should work. This is probably one of the most difficult, intimate decisions that a family ever makes, especially when it comes to a loved one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And right now, I'm just going to say it. I know I'm very verbal these days, and I don't really care. But shame on you. Mm-hmm. Whatever your company is, shame on you. You shouldn't own anybody. You shouldn't own a place for mom. Any of this kind of stuff. Wrong.
Right.
Wrong. Ask the PA. Send me a message, www.askthepa.com, and I would love to have a conversation with you about that because it is wrong. It's not about you. It's about people's loved ones. And you know what?
Right.
They're vulnerable.
Exactly.
You know what it's like when you're in the hospital, like what Jackie said, you're in the hospital and all of a sudden you're like, I've got to find a place quick. And the first thing I'm thinking of is, wait, I had a patient. I had somebody I knew. I'll reach out to him. And he helped me out a lot. And the funny part is, I don't want to violate any HIPAAs, but Anita, I was desperate. I was ready to send my parents down the street to Mountain Park. Financially, I knew I couldn't afford it. I didn't know how I was going to make it work. But I was desperate and I had signed the contract. And one Sunday morning I woke up, I was just like losing it. And my husband and I just did this random thing and we saw angels. Called up and my husband took care of everything because he's like, you need a break. You've been through this, and this. I'm in my cancer diagnosis and all this kind of stuff during this. and he calls up Anita. And it's the most amazing thing. They just basically talk, and he's like, is there any way we can come over on a Sunday? And she goes, yeah. So we walk in, and she goes, Tony, nice to meet you. And then Anita looks at me and she goes, I know you. I'm like, wait a second. I know you. And I can't say how we know each other, but we knew each other. And she was very gracious and brought my parents in. Unfortunately, not due to any of their fault at all. Something did happen. And unfortunately, my mom didn't get much of time at Angels. And I'm very grateful to Anita for her opening her home to my family as fast as she did. And I'm also very grateful to Abel as well for respecting, what my father's needs are right now. And I'm so excited for what you're doing in Glendale.
Thank you. Well, we're really excited to be doing it. We're finally seeing this vision is coming to fruition for us is exciting for my sister and I being a part of it. And now she's doing a lot of the caregiving. So she's really hands-on. She's there Monday through Friday in the thick of it with everybody, just her little family. And me and my kids go by. We're in and out during the day. And then we come in a lot of the times on the weekends too and get to play music there.
And, they're so lucky.
So we do some music, and I've got lots of musician friends as well who like to come over. So we get live entertainment at the home, and then, get to play games and do fun things like that with them, with the kids and stuff. So it's really amazing for me. I'm getting excited watching my kids get to be in the same situation that I was in as a kid. And I just think about the great respect that they're going to have for people and elderly people as they get older. And that's exciting to me. Like, I feel like that's kind of a lost generation kind of for, especially I'm a little bit younger than some people who are in my business, I would say. And so for me, that's exciting.
Do you have social networks that people that own similar group homes get together and share experiences, share pearls, share those kinds of things?
I'm just getting tied in, actually. And I think by going to different networking groups that I'm getting involved with right now, Coalition and
I can help you
Passers and a bunch of different things. So I'm getting more and more connected with different people. I know when we moved into the area, we even just stopped by a couple of homes just to kind of introduce ourselves and be like, hey, we're down the road. And if you need anything, let us know. And likewise, and if we can't help somebody, we'd be happy to see your facility and send them your direction if it's a good fit, things like that. So it's always nice if you can build a sense of community because we're really in this together. We want,
exactly.
We want everyone to really be running amazing homes where we can take great care of each other's families. And so that's what we want to see for everybody.
So tell us a little bit about your background before you got into this business.
I'm a Wolverine for all those Buckeyes out there. I'm okay. I'm not that much into football. And I'm married to a Buckeye. But
she's married to a Buckeye.
I know. Forgive me. Still use me, okay? But my background is psychology. I have a degree in psychology, and plus I was raised up in the kind of neighborhood, kind of what you're talking about, very old-fashioned Polish neighborhood in Detroit, where we all watched out for each other. We all helped each other. That's something I really miss, and that's something that's lacking. You knew everybody. If somebody needed help, if you needed to go mow their lawn because they weren't feeling good or run to the store for them. And that's something that we don't have anymore. So I like the homes. I can't wait to see your home.
Oh, I can't wait for you to come tour it. We've got to work that out before the end of the day.
But that's my background. And then I worked with my husband who has a video film production company called SWAT HD. And he was he went through the same situation with his mom as I did mine. And he was kind of amazed that I went into this business, but I tell people it's what God wanted me to do when I grew up. And I will be doing this until I stop breathing. That's how I look at it. I love what I do. And if I could just say one more thing, please, because we were talking about places like the big box offices. Forget the first and second pages and third and fourth pages on the internet. Please call around, and you can call some of the homes and ask them who they like to work with.
Exactly.
And just make sure that whoever you work with, and please don't do this on your own. It's way too difficult, and I can vouch for that.
That's true.
Call somebody who's local, who's been in the placement business for years, who actually went through this. I made all the decisions for my mom. I had no help from anybody. They didn't want any part of it because they felt if there was a problem and there was a mistake, of course, it would be on me. So they wanted nothing to do with the decisions. So ask for somebody local, someone who does their homework, someone who vets the places, someone who knows the places, someone that they ask you the right questions. On my website, I'm going to do that. What questions you should be asking a placement agent. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, there's some people I want to definitely connect you with, both of you guys with, that I think it's interesting. I can't talk about it, but it falls into my legacy project that has been stopped abruptly due to a legality situation. And it's like I can, through this journey, especially through Phoenix Business RadioX, been able to meet people and can kind of like sit back and put you all together and how you all can really help each other out and how I can help you help each other out.
Right.
And it's just amazing how there's so many great people out there that want to do the right thing, that have the passion to do the right thing, but they're worn out because there's so much negativity around them and they're seeing so much negativity. And sometimes they just need a little boost, right?
Yeah.
They do.
Just a tiny little boost. And like, that's what I love about what you're doing. And what I really love about what you're doing is you're taking ownership of what's going on. And I think that is probably the biggest thing that if I was asking, now that I know the questions to ask, that since I've been through the school of hard knocks and I tell people, this is what you need to ask the group home, do this. It's what you need to ask the assisted living, boom, 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 boom. But the one question I didn't realize that I would also say is the follow-up that you have.
Yes.
With these facilities. Do you do the same kind of follow-up with these bigger assisted livings and independent livings, those kinds of things?
Absolutely. Oh,
and
yes.
memory care?
Oh, yes. Because with the bigger places, you have more people to take care of, fewer caregivers to take care of. The ratio's horrendous.
Yeah.
You get one caregiver to take care of 12, 15, sometimes
Scary.
20 people. And at
I've
nighttime,
heard higher, yeah.
Oh, yeah. At nighttime, one of them said, I have 45 people to take care of at night.
Scary, dangerous.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. So, yes, I stop in on these places. Oh, you should have made an appointment. Why would I have to? It's the same with the homes. I just knock on the door. I just pop in. They're like, oh, Jackie's there. But,
I think that's a great thing, too. Like, the pop-in is always a good idea. So if you want to, like, ever just pop into a home or a place, if you're curious about it, just go knock on the door and be like, hey, I'm just curious how's it going in here? And like,
that's right.
It's a great way to really get a feel and a sense for like what things are like, I think.
Well, and you mentioned the large facilities. When you have the experience that I do, plus I have a great intuition. I can go in, look around. I was just in a big place. No one was smiling. Everyone was sitting by themselves. And this is in the dining area. No one was put with anybody else. They all had their own little table. And I'm looking going, this is not right.
Yeah,
because what they should do, they should be doing is promoting, putting, having people meet people. So they're sitting there by themselves. No smiles, no nothing. Caregivers weren't smiling. That's huge. If you go to a place and the caregivers are not smiling or singing,
big flag.
It's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that people don't know. If you don't have someone helping you, you don't know to look out for those things. That's the problem with not having help from someone who's experienced and does just this. What are the questions you should ask? What should you really look for? Forget the questions. What should you kind of look at?
Right.
Pay attention
and
to,
people,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think talking to some of the residents too, you find out a few things just by asking them.
Yeah,
saying hi, talk to them. Find out. I'm sure you just pick up on a few things just talking to a few people that are there even.
Yeah. And I talk to anybody and everybody. So I will stop and go, hey, hi, how you doing? I'm Jackie. What's your name? And
I bet they love it.
Hi, I'm Al. I said, hi, Al. What'd you do before before you were retired? And just get a conversation going. And then you start kind of asking questions, and it's amazing what they
The other thing is the facility may look amazingly beautiful.
Yes.
And I think people get drawn into that. And so I don't know the statistic exactly, but there's a huge movement right now with construction companies and investors And what they're doing is they're investing in these assisted living, huge independent living facilities.
Yes.
And what they do is they build these beautiful Taj Mahals, and then they basically sit back and watch the income when you're talking that the average price for probably an assisted living like that with, with care, with nursing care especially, can be anywhere from 8 to 10,000 and more, depending on the care plan. And we're going to talk about care plans in a second.
Right.
It's easy trap to fall into, oh, how beautiful it is, how beautiful the room is. But you're right. It's talking to the staff and learning that the staff has never been trained on anything.
That's right.
And they're scared. Or, oh, I was hired for this job, but right now I'm doing this job because there's nobody else to do this job. Oh, I'm the head of electrical and I'm serving meals tonight because and I get the all hands on deck approach. I get that.
Right.
But again, is that the best care?
No.
And so be aware, everybody out there, as you see these beautiful facilities being built. It's what's inside there. It's what exactly Jackie and Krystal are talking about. Right. There's so much more to it.
Bigger's not better.
No, it's
It
not.
is not. More beautiful is not better. More expensive doesn't mean it's better.
That's true.
And that's the one thing I tell all my families. It doesn't mean that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I like the small homey environment. I think it's, especially for people with memory care and things like that too.
Yes.
It gives them a feeling of a little more trusting, and these places where they can't find their rooms and things like this. It's like, nobody came to walk me down to my dinner today, so I didn't make it. And I just heard this story recently. So I didn't make it to dinner because nobody came and walked me to my meal, and things like this happen all the time. But it's like, definitely doesn't give you that one-on-one care, small sense of home feeling. So I definitely am on the side for the small.
And you know what Jimmy Buffett's doing. You've heard about what Jimmy's doing.
No.
Jimmy Buffett is getting assisted livings, and what he's doing is he's building small little homes, like mini homes, and they're going to be like Buffettville's. They're going to be like Margaritavilles for people like, yeah, he is in Florida.
There are people lining up.
Yes, because you know
about
what?
This.
You're going to have your room, you're going to have your palm trees, and you're going to have that music every single day, and you're going to, these people in their 70s,
That would be a fun place to work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but look up
there.
Jimmy Buffett and what he's up to. Jimmy,
find out. No,
Jimmy is like all over this saying, we need a sense of community. We need to be listening to, his great, oh my gosh, I mean.
Well, hopefully he's doing it right then.
Up,
Right.
Sales
because
up.
I found like something what you just said a moment ago, that there are famous people and people who are in big industries,
big time,
who are getting involved in this in assisted living, and that can have its ups and downsides. But like you said, these big beautiful places, if they're coming in as investors just looking to make money, they're not in it for the right reasons, because it takes a lot more than money to make a good home. It takes a lot of heart and hard work, and if you're not the person willing to do that, then, you're kind of missing the mark.
And that's why I think the home environment is really where it's going to go. I think as especially people my age, I'm in my mid-50s. Hopefully I won't be there that soon. Hopefully I make it that long. We'll see. But you're looking for that homey environment. You're looking for that fireplace. You're looking for that place to put your feet up, where you can reminisce about what it was like growing up and when you raised your families and when your family comes. I mean, that was the one thing that was really exciting for my family. They came at Christmas time last year, and Anita went over the top with her Christmas decorations. And I got to say, for my dad's birthday, it was so cute what they did for him on Monday. And it wasn't grandiose touches, but it was so nice. It was so cool, balloons, happy birthday, Paul, and he said, I had a birthday party today. And how neat was that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they decorated the house. Yeah. And so my brothers came into town because I'm overseeing the care of my parents. And like you say, I better not mess up too bad. And they just loved walking in and seeing that beautiful Christmas tree, seeing the lighting in the house, seeing my dad's room decorated. and it being small, intimate, and just nice. And so I will predict right now that I think the group homes are the way it's going to be. And also the other reason I think so is because they're a little bit more cost effective.
They are. They are definitely cost effective.
So how do you, all right, Jackie, let's go for it. How do you make money?
Oh, hey, easy. Wait, now first of
How's
all,
she make the moolah to do this?
this is how I make my moolah.
Okay, how do you make your moolah?
I get a referral fee from wherever somebody moves to. So, and it's different depending on the place. For instance, with the homes, it's usually 100%. So it's 1 month fee. But I know about budgets and stuff. So if it's respite or if it's hospice, I do 25% per month up to a full month. And most homes are like, oh, you do that. It is a state law that Ducey signed in that I have to disclose my fee. I have no problem with that. I've always done that. But we need to do it in writing now or it's a $1,000 fine. So if anyone's out there and you're working with an agent and they have not asked you to sign a disclosure fee, you need to ask them for that. They should be doing that for you. So I make my money from places like Krystal's and they go, oh my God, we love this resident. They're a perfect fit. And here you go.
Yes. And if she's doing her job well, like sounds like she really is doing this, she's the kind of referral agent we want to work with.
Exactly.
Because then she's going to bring us a resident who is a good fit and she's done the research and she knows what she's getting into. She's come and she's vetted out our house and she goes, I really like this place. I know this family. I think it's going to be a good fit for you. And then it's a good match and you're not leaving your family member in a place where they're going to have to turn around and leave in the next month or, you know, it's putting everybody in a good situation. So,
well, and I need the homes to be honest with me too. And I gave this example at the pass-throughs meeting.
Yeah.
Somebody was talking, they were up there and I don't know if it was Steve or Chuck or who it was, but I said, when I call a home, I give them a load of information. I mean, I've been told by the homes it's more than anyone else does. Okay, I think you should have that. But when I ask if you can do something and you say, well, I'll try. I just had this happen. I'm like, no, it's either yes or no. And the fact that you said you'll try, thank you anyway. Boom, I'm off the phone. So I need the homes to be honest with me as to what they can and can't do. Can you do tube feeding? Can you handle catheters and ostomy bags? Can you do suctioning? Can you do a lot of things that aren't considered normal, everyday stuff? If you can't, that's fine.
Right.
I'll call you for the next one. But that's the one thing that I need from homes so that I can help my families is complete honesty. Yes, we can. No, we can't. We don't think that would be good fit. Oh my gosh, he would be a wonderful fit for our home.
Right.
That's the stuff I need from the homeowners.
Absolutely. And I know there are a lot of places who don't really do a lot of that, a little bit more difficult care.
Right.
My sister likes to pride us in the fact that we do take residents like that because everybody needs a place to be. And sometimes taking in some of those little bit more difficult, a little more time-consuming residents, even if it requires that, like, we have some of our staff go and get training.
Right.
I think that's important. And then we can say, absolutely. And if everybody's not up to date on the training for that, then we'll go ahead and go and get everybody trained on that so that we make sure everybody's on point, on the same page.
Right.
And, you know, and so...
I really can't wait to see it.
And the other thing is, I'm just going to add one little caveat as a healthcare provider, though, is also just being aware of what finally is at the scope of the home that really needs to go to skilled nursing.
Right.
And so, Jackie, could you give us some examples of what you would think that would be?
Well, I had one recently. He had ALS, and his body wasn't working. He completely paralyzed. He did have suctioning. He did have a tracheotomy. He had the tube. And this is when I felt it was too difficult for any of the homes, even the ones where the nurses owned them and they worked them. And I was talking about Mark, the big teddy bear. He's got Desert Springs over in Mesa. And he's my helper. I'll say, Mark, I have this. What do you think? And he'll go, nursing home. Okay. Then I'm not even going to bother calling anyone else. So there are a lot of things that most of the homes can't do, but it's kind of, they're trained to do like catheter.
Right, catheters, that's a no-brainer, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. But when they start getting the specialized needs like this gentleman needed.
With ALS,
With the ALS, which is a nasty disease.
It's very,
we just
very
had
nasty.
the whole, I think 8 people came out from the ALS Association. My sister used to work in the medical field previous to this, doing medical equipment. And so she worked really closely with ALS for the medical supply company that she worked for. And we did the ALS walk every year with them. And so they came out, about 8 of them came out and toured our facility, and they just added us to their list of places that they'll recommend. But it is such a case-by-case basis. And I think that's the other thing. My sister or I, she's more the medical side of things. I'm more the business stuff. But we like to go out and meet, if we can go out and meet a resident before you can decipher something like that and say, let's talk about your condition and what's going on with your health.
I insist on that with my homeowners. I'm going to have you go, okay, here's everything I know. I want you to go to that rehab facility or to the hospital. I want you to look at all their medical records. You take a look at all these things you need to take a look at. I need you to do your own assessment. Yeah, and I require that every single time. No, you're not going to just listen to me. You go see them.
Yeah.
Jackie, can we please clone you?
Yes, can we please?
And we'll clone
my husband
Krystal
would say
no. But these are the points, and it's interesting because I really applaud you for bringing it up and talking so candidly, because these are the problems that we faced as a family.
Yeah,
and some things could have been avoided had there been a little bit more time. Yes, everything was fast. I get that, and a little bit more of the vetting, like you say, and also. Not only is it a good fit for the resident, but will this resident be a good fit for the rest of the residents, or is it going to set the home into where the energy goes kind of like haywire, and then all of a sudden you have other residents, because it's a very small balance, it's a balance for everybody.
It is,
and so. You're doing a great job, and the person who helped me did a good job. I mean, he really helped me out, and I am grateful to him for that.
Right.
I'm just not grateful for our outcome as far as my mom's death, but that's just something that happens. A lot of times we have to be humble and realize that things do happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there needs to be an accountability as well. And it's amazing, for families when you get to that point, you go, oh my goodness, you second guess yourself and say, could we have hung in there in independent living a little bit longer? Because it seemed like the two of them somehow were able to do it better than what I put them into. And I still feel a little bit of a sense of guilt over that. And I need to get over that because I did the best I could with what I knew to do. But now I feel like I'm really working hard to advocate for people to say, hey, I wouldn't in the West Valley or, Central Phoenix, even I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Krystal's place. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Jackie and some other people that I know, because I know you guys are going to go the extra mile, and families need that. Now, the question I have is are you on hospital lists as well, or are you not allowed to be on hospital list?
Some of the hospitals are now putting lists together, and I'm with Banner right now. I'd love to get into the other ones, but it's very difficult to get into the hospitals. This is very social driven, isn't it? Don't you think? Where if you don't know somebody to bring you in, you're not getting in there.
Yeah, it's very network associated. I'm finding these days.
Yes, it's very networky.
So what we need to do is collaborate after this discussion and kind of see if we can bring a few other players into this networky thing and try to come up with a central way for these connections to happen. And also,
great
when people, just have questions like, what to do.
Yeah. And you know what? Even though someone's not ready to do anything, call me. I've spent hours on the phone. I mean, over the years, just to sit and talk with somebody. And I said, it's better to have the knowledge and education up front than when something happens, like with you, Barb, that you're running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And I don't want to see that. I mean, I had to go through that. So please let me just sit and talk. We'll sit and talk and we'll both put our feet up. This lady on the other end of the line, I could hear how stressed she was. I said, do you like wine? She goes, yes. Are you done working? Yes. Go find a nice place, put your feet up with a glass of wine. Let's talk. And then when we were done, she's like, oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Right.
I mean, just little things like that. I just believe in educating. I really do. And too many people, you mentioned advocate. People don't know how to advocate for their loved ones. They don't know what they're allowed to do or what they should be doing and not doing.
Right.
And mostly what they should be doing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people they don't want to overstep their boundaries too soon. And I know that's a hard position to be in. But when you said advocate, I felt the same way because my sister and I, being a little bit younger in this industry, are finding especially for younger generations, that they're not thinking about what this is like. And even my older friends are going, Krystal, what do I do about my mom and dad? And some of our, first residents are friends' parents. And they're like, I haven't made any plans for them.
Okay,
and a lot of people wait till it's too long.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal.
So
this is what I'm talking about. First of all, I just got my trademark for Best of Health Advocacy.
Oh.
And I just got the trademark last week. And I'm an advocate who's trying to advocate for all the advocates. Is it kind of the way it is?
You can advocate for the advocate.
So right now, I'm going to tell you right now, there is an amazing nurse advocate business out there called Bridges RN, Melissa Cardine in Gilbert. Shout out to Melissa. If you need somebody to help with what do we need to do as far as healthcare and as far as next steps and what is the best place from a medical standpoint, Melissa Cardine is your person. There's a gal out there. Her name is Marie Burns. Marie Burns has these small books out that I think Karen may have here, and they're guides to steps of what to be thinking about when families are transitioning and what questions to ask. And her books are brilliant. Marie Burns, shout out to you. She has 2 of them. She has another one that's going to be produced. So I will make sure that you guys get information about that because those are the kinds of things right here. They are Marines. It's called Your Amazing Itty Bitty Before Financial Checklists. It's awesome. And nice. Marie is awesome. And so I'm telling you right now, Melissa Cardine, Bridges RN, Marie Burns are your people for all those kinds of questions. They have passions like no other. We've got Jackie, who's got a passion like no other to make sure that these pieces are in place. We've got Krystal, who's got a background like no other as far as growing up in the business. She grew up in the business just like I grew up in the business with my dad being a doctor, 4th generation. That's why I'm a healthcare provider. We need to get together, and what we need to do is finally just map it out and get her done.
All right.
And part of my legacy project has to do with it in a kind of a way which I can't talk about right now because of my legality situation, but it's going to happen. And the other thing I want to say really quick is that when you're accepting people, I'm going to give you a pearl, and you already gave it. Medicine collapses every single time is the transitional step. It's the step from when you're discharged from the hospital with the medical list, the medicine list, and I can tell you 90% of the time it's wrong. You need to make sure that you double and triple check it because it's wrong. I've seen it over and over and over again with my family and with my patients, and I could go on for an hour about it. It's the transitional steps. Every single time when they go to a nursing home, when they go to a skilled nursing facility, even though the EMRs are so awesome, everybody says, and I have an opinion about that, and I said something about that in my last show, I think they have their place, but people are replacing that with good old common sense communication. We need to communicate. We need to talk. We need to make change. And in this room are 4 people. There's another person in this room. Her name is Krystal Naegle. And she is the president of Phoenix Business RadioX, and she's a good friend of mine. And she has done more for bringing people together than anyone I know. And I'm grateful to her for that. And on that note, I want every single one of you to say one more thing that you'd like to do. Shout outs about yourself, shout outs about anything, starting with Krystal.
What am I shout outing about?
Anything.
About anything?
The Waters music.
Oh, the Waters
Anything.
music. Well, we play music. So yeah, come see us play. Check out thewatersmusic.com. You can find out where our shows are. Check out Jubilee assistedliving.com and you can find out all about our new amazing home, and we'd love to give you a tour. So like I said, the drop by is always fine. Feel free to knock on the door and show up and come by, or you can always call and make an appointment as well, but you're always welcome. We love to show you our new home.
And Jackie.
I own Jackie. It's called Jackie Senior Living Options, and you can go to my website. It's call-jackie.com. And feel free to call me at any time, even if you just have questions, if you have concerns, even if somebody else helped you and you're like, this doesn't seem right, please feel free to call me. I'm always happy to help. I work 7 days a week, my birthday, holidays, doesn't matter, because for me, it's always about the family, and I'm an advocate for the families, and they need it at all times. So please take a look at my website, and I'm here for you.
And Jackie knows Anita and Abel.
Yes.
Can you do a quick shout out for them?
Oh my goodness. I've worked with Anita for years. She has awesome homes. She's had many of my families, and I call them my families. Many of my families, and I spoke with Abel, and she seems phenomenal, and I can't wait to go out and sit with her, talk with her, just like Krystal. Now I've got 2 places and 2 people I need to go out and drill.
Yes. And meet my dad.
And meet your dad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
Happy birthday to your dad.
Thank
too.
you.
Your pictures were so cute.
Thank you. It was fun. And I'd just like to again give one more shout out to Karen Nowicki, because I am grateful to her for so many reasons, and it's just been an amazing time with Best Health Radio. Best Health Radio, Phoenix Business RadioX, sponsored by Ask the PA. Anyone that's interested in sponsoring my show moving forward, reach out to me or Karen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening, and give your loved ones a big hug. www.askthepa.com. Take care. Bye.